Okay, YouTube, arrow spine, traditional arrow spine, and we're going to talk about arrow spine for traditional bows and arrow spine, and we're going to talk about, particularly carbon arrows. They don't have to be carbon arrows, but that's what I know. So we're going to talk about that. Spine of an arrow, nothing more than how much it flexes. Okay, they determine at the factory. They hang a weight, and it's called deflection. And if that weight goes down a half inch beyond straight, 500 spine arrow. If it goes down 0.6 inches, 600 spine arrow. 4.4 inches, 400 spine arrow. You get the drift. It's important to note that even though they use 26 inches as a test, God, it's hard to explain this, but your arrow is based on that spine at full length. Even though that's not how they test it, that's your arrow at that spine is full length, and that's important to remember because when you manipulate this arrow, cutting it down, adding more weight, putting a wrap on it, putting feathers on it, that changes the arrow dramatically. Okay, so you need to know that. Arrow weight is not to be confused with arrow spine. Now, a stiff arrow, meaning a lower number spine, 400, 340, 300, will normally be heavier than a 600 spine arrow, arrow has more flex. Because this wall here, that wall, they have to thicken this wall to make the arrow more flexy, and it adds material, so it's going to weigh more. Okay, you'll hear GPI, and that's grains per inch. Grains, not grams, grains per inch. Every inch of this arrow weighs 5.7 grains, 6.7 grains, so on and so forth. They do make low flex. I hate using that, low flex. 600 spine arrows, which have more flex than a 400 spine arrows. They make them that weigh more. Mainly for hunting purposes, so that's a good thing. I don't know how they do that, but that's great. Because 600 arrows may be what you need for a lower poundage bow, and it's nice to know that you can still get some weight because they're very light arrows. And what we're looking for is an arrow that flies the best out of your bow. That's why spine is important, okay? So, you bought a new bow, you got an old bow. You look at the spine charts and you're like, okay, well, blah, blah, 400 spine. You buy some arrows, put some tips on them. You had a buddy check, hey, your draw length's 28 inches, and you go to the shop and you say, I want my arrows cut at 28 inches, blah, blah, blah. Insert. So he does that for you. They're fletched up. Got feathers on them, you're ready to go. And, they fly good. You're kind of all over the target, but you're new, okay? You start getting better. And you start thinking, hey, my groups aren't getting, my groups are all right, but they're just not, and then you start doing research, and then you learn about spine of an arrow, and you learn about things called bear shaft tuning, and that kind of stuff. So, again, flex, the spine of an arrow is how much it bends, okay? Now, why is it important? Well, don't you want that arrow to fly as true as possible, as straight as possible, without a lot of tail wagging or traveling through the air like this, or traveling through the air like, this, or this, or this, or this. You want that arrow to travel through there as straight as possible. Correct? Okay. So if you have a out of spine arrow, that's what it's going to do. And even beyond the correct spine, you want to tune your arrows, and that's a process by cutting your arrow down to make it more stiff, because that's what you'll do. Adding point weight to make it more flexible. Arrows will stiffen an arrow a little bit, or fletching, I mean. You can get heavier nocks. This is a 100 grain gold tip insert. You can replace the 12 grain insert in there. That'll give it more flex. Okay, so that covers, hopefully that covered, what I know about spines of an arrow. And the next video will cover, why is it important to have your arrows spine correctly, and why is it important to tune them to your bow correctly. And it is important, and we'll cover that. And if you got any questions or comments, please leave them. All right, thanks.